place where we left off last, we had 3 sections sewn together and then 2 sections sewn together, and we left some knots on either side so we can actually cut straight up carefully in between those two. You don't want to cut through a seam that you've made, so we separate those and then cut those 3 apart from each other. From here, we are taking those 5 pieces, and they are the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections of the front of the Rakusu. As you'll see here on the far left, we have as I was speaking before, this middle one is on top of the one that's next to it. So this is right here, this part is above this section, and right here this section is above this one, and then also this part here is above this part. So it says kind of like shingles, water would come down. This is on top of that, this is on top of that, and you can see that here in the one we sewed. So this is on top of the lower section, this is on top of the lower section. So there's our 5 different parts that we'll want to set up and align them so we have, according to how it looks on the sheet here, we'll have the 5 different sections, and then write the numbers on the back of each of the 5 here. So again, make sure that you have the right section in the right area depending on what should be the upper and lower part. So these are again, this one section here is like one section here. So we got 5, 5, and then 5 all there. So we end up writing the numbers on the back according to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in putting these together, we'll actually be starting with putting number 2 on top of number 2 on top of number 1. And then we'll also be so we'll put those 2 together, and we'll put together 4 and 5. So 4 is on top of 5. And once we sew those together, then we can sew those completed sides to the middle section, number 3. To measure these parts out, we can take number 3 and set it aside. Get number 3 written on there. So 1 and 2 will be together, 4 and 5 will be together. And since 5 is lower, it's underneath, we only need to mark off one line on that on one edge. The other edge will be below, that far edge will be covered by the perimeter of the Rakusu. So number 5 here, that far edge will be underneath, so we don't have to worry about measuring that. But 4, we can start with that, is measured out with to start with 3 inches across. From the middle part of this is 3 inches. So you got a little extra on the side here, a little extra on the side there. From this line to this one is 3 inches. And to get proper lines on that, what we want to do is using a transparent ruler here, we actually take one of these lines that runs across and line that up with not this folded edge, but this one here. So underneath, we'll have this line here aligned with the line underneath, and we'll draw one chalk line on one side and the other one over here, again 3 inches, but we get that right angle from here. And it might, if you did it from the edge here, it's a little more inconsistent, so you'll want to line that up in that particular manner. And then our second line here on, again, number, in this case, we're working with 4 and 5. The second line is 3/4 inch. Right there. So 3/4, and we run that line along perpendicular in line with the other outer line. And then for putting these together for sewing, we'll be setting this up where one is on top of the other. This one, so these two are 4 and 5, and as I was saying before, we'll on the other side be connecting 1 and 2. 1 and 2 here. 1 and 2. And here's what it looks like when it's pinned. So you have, always be taking note of which way sort of these shingles will be going. And then on the back side, you have this one, and when we get done, we'll actually be unfolding this. Excuse me, first we do a seam right up along this way, and then we can pull the pins out, and then we unfold this and then lie it flat. And just to give you a idea of how this comes together, this part here gets folded like that, and then we sew along this. We sew up this way, so those two are connected, and then when we have it unfolded, we can see that our shingles are going in the correct direction. So to get these aligned together, we'll use the example here of 4 and 5 and put them together like we had 1 and 2. Approximately. First measurements that we need to take are to come down. It would be 1 5/8. I'm working on number 4 here, and we come down from the sewn line here, not the edge, not the folded corner. We come down 1 5/8 and draw an X right here. You can draw an X right here. And then on number 5, we do the same on this outer line here. So 1 5/8 and X. Excuse me. We're going from the folded edge in this case. 1 5/8 and X there and X there. And then we'll situate these together. Where we're bringing the pins down through one side, through 1X, 1X here, and then we're coming through mixed up here. Let's see, turn it around. Actually, this is how 4 and 5 look. Is that right? 4 and 5. Numbers here. Yep. So 4 and 5 look like this, where you have the folded edge here, and then your folded edge here. Just to show you quick, on 1 and 2, your folded edge is here. On the back side, your folded edge is there. So when we pin these together, we'll bring a pin into one of our X's here, right here. There's the other X. So we're coming down in that top X, and then as we flip this over, coming back up into this X right here. And then pin that. It's a little bit off. I'll have to get that more exact. And then here we have, make sure the top and bottom fabric are flat, and come down into this X, and then keep adjusting until I just lucked out and hit it right on the spot there. And then secure that down. Again, make sure this is not ruffled up on the bottom or the top. Top and bottom levels are flat. And then go along and put your pins down through and make sure this is flat, and you come down with a pin right on the line, and then on the other side you need to come right up on that line. So if it's off a little bit, these are looking pretty good. That can move down just a little bit and continue your pinning as you, these are not quite right. Need to do a little adjusting there, but you continue to pin it until the whole length is ready to go. So again, these are the far sides of the Rakusu on either side, and then when we finish those up, those two sides will be connected to 3, which we set aside. And our first stitch here is again to run up this line of pins on this line right here, and we continue on from there.